tonight. My mind just went blank. Kyle Page. And if you would, Mr. Page, if you would just lead us in a silent moment to remember our friend Jerry Frazier, please, and his family. Go ahead. And the Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by, after the prayer, Ronnie Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Withers. This time, if everybody please pause for a moment of silence for Mr. Frazier and their family. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to convene this evening, to convene for children in our community and the families that are in our community that look to their schools for a safe place. God, as we convene this evening, help us to honor you, help the board to have wisdom to navigate each decision that they make through your lens and through your eyes. And touch the Frazier family, Lord. Be with them, strengthen them, give them peace, give them strength to make it through this season. Touch Tamara, wrap your loving arms around her, and just be with the family in Jesus' name. Amen.
Let us pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to recognize Ms. Kaysen to recognize the folks, Jerry and
Okay.
The other lady from Charleston.
Yes, Sharon Melton passed away about 2 weeks ago. She was retired from Charleston Elementary, and I think she was the guidance counselor there when she retired. She's a great tennis buddy of mine, and her son Nathan played on one of my junior tennis teams. So, and y'all know I always look down at Jerry to see what else he can say about something. So I'm going to look at everybody else. What do y'all have to say about Sharon? Anything?
Well, I worked with Sharon for several years. She was also a math teacher at Charleston High School, and of course I made a lot of deals with her to place some of my students in her classroom, and just had a very good relationship with Sharon, and certainly she's going to be missed.
And then, of course, Jerry, we know, definitely going to be missed. And everybody here probably knows him as well as I did and could do the whole repertoire of what all he'd done, but taught, coached, principal, superintendent, etc. So, share.
Go ahead, Mr. Bressman.
Well, you might Michael on here, but I can talk about Jerry for hours. We wouldn't get out tonight.
No, we don't want to hear that.
Well, I'll quit when I get ready.
Okay.
Jerry was my best friend since childhood. Him and Gary Davis. And we were in high school together, played Little League baseball. He was the best friend in my wedding. We went to high school together, traveled together, went to college together. We agreed on probably 99% of the issues, especially when it came to teachers and what we needed, as did most of the board members, all board members. He was the first person that I saw when I came out of surgery for my heart. The first person, not my wife, not my son, Jerry Frazier. And Tamara was with me. I was there when Eddie was born. He was there when my kids were born. He was a principal with me at Brandon. I wasn't friends with who he was. The last things I remember, he was at my son's wedding in September. I've got pictures of him and me and Troy dressed up real crazy at the photo booth. Jerry was in my family's wedding pictures. Andy wanted it that way. I was shocked beyond belief, as most, probably everybody was. We lost a giant in the education field. And he will never be replaced. Well, anybody up here can be replaced in the sense, but not in what he's done for education. I'm sorry. Just like when Gary Davis died. I couldn't let these two giants go without saying. I could, like, I know what you're talking about, but I could talk, everybody here could tell stories about Jerry, good stories. I don't know anybody that knows any really negative stories about him. I'm sure there are. Well, I could tell a couple, but not at the time. Well, I'll tell one. I remember we were over at Tamara's house and waiting on Jerry. And I said, I'm hungry. Mom, we're all hungry. She said, he'll be here. And I need your help when he gets here. I said, what? She said, you won't believe what he's bought. Jerry comes riding down the road on a moped, because it's about as big as a tricycle. And you know how big Jerry was. I mean, that's the funniest thing I ever saw. He kept it about a day. But, as I said, high school, everywhere, he was as popular as anybody. And he will be missed by everybody, especially his family. And I appreciate you listening to what I have to say about it.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. President. Anybody else?
Well, I just wanted to say that, Jerry loved Bradley County Schools. Everyone up here loves Bradley County Schools, but he had that intrinsic feeling about the teachers, and he knew a lot of teachers, knew their parents, their children, their grandchildren. He could, as Nancy said, anytime something was brought up on the board, he could go back with a story about them, and it was very special and it made people feel really close to Jerry, and it was a good feeling because he could not only remember your family, but he knew them by name, and he cared for people, and as I said, he loved the school system in Bradley Central High School especially, so he will be missed.
I guess my memory of Jerry, and Jerry probably doesn't even remember this one, okay? I was a senior at Bradley High School, and he was assistant principal, and he gave me detention. I never did tell him that, though, but he gave me detention. I'll never forget it. I did something I wasn't supposed to be doing, and I was supposed to graduate, and I had to do the detention before I graduated, and rightly so, he should have. But as they've said earlier, I think the thing that amazed me the most is I've never met anybody who knew everybody. And I'm telling you, he knew everybody. I've never met anybody like that. And he had a heart for education, there's no question. He had a heart for Bradley High School. If you went to any sports venues at all, you're going to see Jerry Frazier. And I think that's positive, to be honest with you. I think it was an honor to serve with him on this board, and it was an honor to be a part of Bradley County Schools with him. And and his life was Bradley County Schools. His wife's life was Bradley County Schools, and still is. So it's a great honor just to be a part of what he was a part of. Anyone else? All right, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda you'd like removed or added?
Mr. Weathers, I would like to add to the consent agenda policy 4.205, policy 4.203, 3.302, and 4.606. They're all second readings, and there were no issues with those, so if we could just move those policies to the consent agenda for approval.
Okay, so we'll be moving item number 14, all items in item number 14 to the consent agenda.
Yes, that
Okay.
was much more concise.
Thank you. Any others? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Anyone to address the board? No, thank you. Director of Schools Report, Dr. Cash.
Just very briefly, we've had a great back-to-school week. Children in the buildings, very smooth. Just very pleased that we are back in school and hope that we can maintain everything. Unfortunately, we already have a 2-hour delay tomorrow due to impending weather. I'm like, seriously? It was 60 degrees. But we will watch that weather and hopefully we will make it in, but if not, it would be a weather day for us. But I can honestly say that people were thrilled to be back. Teachers were back. Everybody was in place where they needed to be, and it's a celebration to get to be with them. The second thing I would like is I'd like for Renee Diamond, if it's okay with the chair, to give us a little update on our student progress related to our benchmark testing.
Great. Welcome, Ms. Diamond.
Thank you, Dr. Cash, board members.
Yeah, I wanted to share just a little bit of data from our benchmark test. We took benchmarks when we first started in the fall, and then we took benchmarks right before we left before the Christmas holidays. And it was projected based on normal summer slide that our math, we would see a really steep decline in our scores. They predicted anywhere from 50 to 75% more summer slide than normal because we were out in the spring. And we did see that in math, but I have to say that our teachers have been working incredibly hard, and we're seeing a lot of bounce back. So what I'm going to do is share our incoming fall percent, which is students who are ready pretty much on day one for the grade level, and now the percent of kids who are on or above that grade level. So for kindergarten, and we're at math, we started with our incoming kindergartners at 21% ready for day one. Now we are at 67% of our students on grade level or above. A lot of growth in kindergarten. In first grade, our kids came in at 10% ready for day one, which we expected because we lost them so early in the kindergarten year. They are currently at 36%. We had our second grade come in, only 13% were ready. We are at 33. Third grade, 11% of our third graders came in ready. We are currently at 41% on grade level or above, so that was tremendous growth. Fourth grade, 17% of our kids came in ready, and we are currently at 44%. Fifth grade came in, 26% were ready, a good high number actually. We are sitting at 47%. Our strongest showing was our incoming sixth graders. In math, 31% of them were ready on day one. We are at 47% now. 22% of our incoming seventh graders came in ready for math. We're at 35% now. 24% of our incoming eighth graders came on ready on day one. 35% are on or above now. We still have a long way to go with math, but the gaps are definitely closing. Our teachers are working incredibly hard, and we're super proud of them. A lot of our schools had math professional development over the last professional development days, so I think our focus really is on making sure we close those gaps in math. For ELA, the picture is a lot brighter. Our kids came in much higher, much less of a loss during that spring. That, I think, is for a lot of reasons. Our kids were proactive on iReady, and we really encouraged through Accelerated Reader and other programs to keep them reading. And I think it paid off. So our kindergartners came in, 26% of them were ready on day one for kindergarten and reading. We are now at 83% of our students on or above. Our kindergarten teachers are fantastic. First grade, 14%, so a very low percentage relative to other grade levels. They are currently at 44%. Our second grade came in pretty strong, 31%, and we're currently at 53%. Our third grade came in super strong. They came in at 54%. Half of those kids came ready on day one, even though we had missed months of school. We're currently at 71% who are on grade level or above. Fourth grade, 36% of our kids came in ready. We are currently at 53%. Fifth grade, 36% of our kids came in ready. We're currently at 52%. Sixth grade, 34%. We're currently at 48%. Seventh grade, 38% came in ready. We're currently at 47%. And eighth grade, 35% came in ready. We're currently at 45%. So just another tremendous shout out to our principals and our teachers who have worked above and beyond and made these wonderful things happen. And we're dedicated the second semester to move in all of these kids toward end of year proficiency, and the kids who are not quite yet on track, we are putting in place plans to get that done. So, any questions?
Thank you so much. One of the things that I would just like to add to that is that when you enter our schools and you're watching, they moved beyond those first weeks, maybe the first month of being hesitant about what they were doing to just spot on, we're all fine, we're good, let's learn. And so the teaching and learning was really strong, and that's just a testament to our teachers, our parents, and our students for pushing through and actually being excited about being at school. So we appreciate their diligence and persistence in that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. All right, next item on the agenda is the Cleveland Public Education Foundation update. Vanessa Hammonds, the president. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Chairman Weathers and Board of Education, for this opportunity to speak to you this evening. So 2020, for giving our mid-year report on 2020 now, it was a good year for BCPEF. Last year at this time, we outlined our strategic plan and the priority objectives, and without going into specific detail on that, I will only emphasize that we're on target with both, fulfilling our mission beyond our expectations and improving the organization's sustainability. So of most interest to you right now is the program and project support for 2020 that I want to share with you. During the last calendar year, BCPEF provided program and project support to Bradley County Schools totaling $234,936. These funds included support directly to 11 schools in the Bradley County system. Funds also included support to Bradley County Schools to assist with the unique expenses related to COVID-19. That included some virtual learning support and helping to provide a safe environment. $111,863 of the total support was dedicated toward those COVID-19 expenses. And that COVID funding was provided through a Tennessee Community Cares grant that was offered to nonprofit organizations across the state. And I want to go off script a little of our set script to praise Lynn Volz. She saw this grant, she jumped on it, it was rolled out quickly, and she just ran with it. And with the fantastic cooperation of Susan Wilcutt, your finance manager, whom Lynn praised for her support and working with her, planning, managing, and then submitting the copious documentation requirements for these government grants, which Bradley County Schools is experienced with federal grants, but this was the first for the Bradley Cleveland Public Ed Foundation, and we were just all so impressed with their work and appreciative of the funding. So overall, this infusion of support for these programs, projects for 2020 represents a 683% return on investment for the Bradley County Schools Board of Education, based on its $30,000 support for BCPEF operations for this fiscal year. And that is truly exciting to us, 683% ROI. So thank you for that support that we were able to expand. So looking forward, there are 10 teacher grants for 2020-21, this academic year, that are in process. They've been awarded to 8 different schools for a total of $40,000 for the Bradley County school system. And then in terms of specific program support, I'd like to bring to the screen, I think, hopefully, if they're able to pull it up, our newly redesigned website. We'll see if we have it here. Sorry. Thank you. We just wanted to show you, it's a great looking site. It's been redesigned, and we have a few blogs on here that are specific to these projects that were supported through the BCPEF this year, or this in 2020. And a couple that I'll mention, and if you scroll down on the screen a little bit, you'll see these blogs. Specifically, I want to mention Bradley Central High School Shakespeare Day. So there's so you can see if you want to go back to this website. This was a creative learning experience for the Freshman Academy. It was held recently. And then on another blog, you'll see 2 activities that are working together, the Bradley Central High School and Walker Valley collaboration, along with the Friends of Innovation Award. So you will be able to go back at your leisure and look at those. They give short descriptions, but just to describe a little bit more about these 2 exciting projects, or this exciting group of projects and award. We previously reported to you about 3 years ago that the STEM team at Bradley Central High School crafted a vision and a plan for enhancing STEM learning at Bradley Central. And their commitment and activity have been impressive, and they have resulted in receipt of a multitude of grants, awards, and fellowships toward their objectives for improving STEM at Bradley Central. So just this past December, we submitted to the Tucker Foundation the grant report, concluding the $40,000 match grant received by Bradley Central in 2019-20 that really supported this effort by these teachers, and it was titled Beyond Beakers 2. And we were so gratified to document for the Tucker Foundation the commitment, innovation, and professionalism of this Bradley Central educator team, and who they have continued that work, and they were undeterred by the COVID-related circumstances. And this grant stimulated more investments, more grants of well over $100,000 for this project. So building on that, this past year in spring 2020, as you all well know, in response to the pandemic, teachers from Bradley Central, Walker Valley High School, Ocoee Middle, and Lake Forest Middle, they produced over 600 face shields. And they used equipment and supplies that were obtained through these earlier grants and awards that I just mentioned. And this PPE was distributed to nearly 40 local medical facilities and their professionals. So it was just an exciting collaboration to see their efforts along with the resources that have been provided as a result of their energy and passion, and how it reached out into the community as well last year. In response to that activity, they were inspired, and this group of teachers, they developed an innovative proposal to continue this project and to further STEM support that they submitted to BCPEF in July of last year. And 10 families, including BCPEF board members and BCPEF staff and Bradley County Schools related professionals, they all joined together, this group of friends of innovation, to support this $15,000 project for Bradley Central and Walker Valley, this collaboration. So this was just another exciting example of bringing these teachers and the resources and the supporters all together for education. So we're thrilled with that happened last year. So finally, for program support, I wanted to mention that the 2020-21 United Way Health Endowment Fund grant is continuing to meet the needs of coordinated school health initiatives Telemedicine equipment will be installed into 4 Bradley County schools in February, and at that point, all Bradley County and Cleveland City schools will have telemedicine capability. And this has been a goal since beginning in 2015, working in partnership with United Way Health Endowment and Erlanger Children's Hospital and the school system. So we're excited to see that come to completion and continued work. So in summary, it's encouraging and it's truly a privilege to support the professionalism and the innovative educators who are on the front lines in our community. And we see amazing vision and collaboration and commitment that reflect the exceptional leadership from the Bradley County Schools Administration and Board of Education. We know this has an impact on all of our lives in producing a safe and healthy and prosperous environment in our community. And finally, the Executive Committee, on behalf of the Executive Committee, we really want to thank you, the Board of Education, for the operational support that you all have committed going forward. It's enabled us to leverage your commitment and show that, and then we have received additional operational funding from the Tucker Foundation now, just committed for 2021 and 2022. As well as another major grant. So this has been so encouraging to BCPF staff and to our executive committee members. It really helps us to facilitate our planning, our strategic thinking, our staff stability, and ultimately in fulfilling the Education Foundation's mission to support our local public education to the fullest degree that we can. So thank you so much, and I would be happy to entertain any questions that you have.
Well, just on behalf of the Board of Education, thank you for what you guys do. And I've said it many, many times sitting here that our foundation, we wouldn't be where we're at today without you guys. And you do it, you don't get paid. All the things add up for me that you make a difference, and you're making a difference in our kids' lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to think that we could give you money and you could get us that kind of success.
I know
that's not how it works, but gosh, that's great.
Great job.
Thank you.
And thank you, Lynn. There has to be brains behind it, and Lynn doesn't take very much credit, but let me tell you, she's been around long enough, she knows how to do it, she does it great, and she cares about not just Bradley County, but city schools also, and she's been fair, just a great lady to work with, and thank you for your dedication, Lynn, all these years. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the school calendar for 22-23. Terry Murray.
There were 2 calendars that went out to teachers and administrators. The real difference between calendar 1 and calendar 2 was the spring break in March. The first calendar option 1 was the first week of March, and the second calendar was the second week of March. And there was an overwhelmingly favor to option 2. So everything pretty much is in line with Cleveland City. They haven't approved their 22-23 yet, so they may come on board with us with the second week, I don't know. But that's what teachers and administrators wanted. So there was 492, I think, teachers.
492 responses and
24 administrators.
24 administrative responses.
I hear a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the 22-23 calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Thank you, Terry. Now, someone contacting the city to give them a copy of this so that they'll know what our schedule is.
I will send it to Jeff Elliott.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda. Will you handle that, Dr. Cash? Okay.
With the board reviewing the FFCRA extension, we have worked through and would like to recommend that the FFCRA extension for our employees would be carried through January 31st of 2021 and then revisited after that to see where we are, especially with the virus. That would include that it would meet up to any COVID-related expense that has, day that has been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine related to COVID-19 or are expensive COVID-19 symptoms and seeking medical diagnosis. Again, employees would be entitled up to 8 days of paid sick leave at the regular rate, with the FFCRA continuing through January 31st of 2021. But I put that, would like to have a motion for
I hear a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And what questions do we have? Mr. Bryson?
I think I know, but teachers, I mean, they wouldn't know. Why did we choose 8 days instead of 10 days when 10 days is how many days they say you need to be quarantined for?
It includes the weekend, so between the 8 days of paid leave and the weekend, that's the 10 days that the CDC now recommends. Prior to the CDC changing that, it was 14 days. It's now down to 10, so it's the 8 days and then the two days on the weekend would be their 10 days of quarantine.
What if they got it back on?
It would still include the
Still have
weekend.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Have 2 weekends.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Now, let me ask a question, Dr. Cash, on that. So if our schedule before ran through December 31st, that's why we're doing this now.
Yes, sir.
Because-
The federal government ended their support of that on December 31st, but it gave the option for independent organizations to carry it on and modify it as needed.
Okay. So now, we're meeting on the second week of February. If you need this to continue, how are we going to do that by executive approval? Is that what we
Well,
have to do?
we could do executive approval, or we could bring the board back and we would, and when we meet, we would make it retroactive.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because that's so
Yeah.
everybody understands, we can't extend it. And
We're hoping the vaccine is available for all of our educators, and that would make a difference.
And have you heard, on the vaccine, have you heard anything when our teachers have an opportunity?
Nothing different, other than toward the end of January, early February. I will tell you that the health department and our emergency management are doing a great job, but they are dependent on the vaccines arriving and being distributed. So if they don't arrive, it may push that back a little, because every day that those vaccines are a day late, it keeps pushing back the groups. So, but currently, end of January, early February was where we were counting on. It could be earlier if the more vaccines came, and they could, but that's what the prediction was.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is Goal Academy Design Update. Angie?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here and update you on the Goal Academy design. Since we last were here and presented in the fall, we've continued on with the design and continued with our coordination with the overall Pie Center building. We were out at the site in November and met with Kyle and Corbett and Artec, and were able to work out some of the details of coordination then. As you know, there have been a few changes to the overall building in the past couple of months, and the one that impacted Goal Academy was a modification to that wall that you see at the bottom of the screen. So that wall got a little bit bigger. It had impacted the square footage of those classrooms. It reduced it. And so what we did, previously there were 6 classrooms along that corridor, and so we eliminated one classroom and redistributed that square footage among the remaining classrooms. So that's really the most significant change that occurred within Goal. So we took these plans, and we also have some descriptive scope narratives from our engineers, so mechanical and electrical and plumbing engineers, and architectural scope summaries that we sent along with these plans to Corbett. And he was able to coordinate some pricing, which he got to me yesterday, and we reviewed that and sent a few questions back to him, which he's working on. And so we hope in the next few days to have some solid pricing so that we can work through some potential savings and see where those savings are and make modifications based on that, and then roll into construction documents and get it wrapped up. Are there any questions about that?
I have a couple. So when do we anticipate, and anyone can answer it in this, the group there, when do we anticipate starting construction on the Gold Academy?
I'm gonna let
We're still, just jump ahead to the next agenda item, we're still holding schedule to tender possession. We expect to be substantially complete with the shell, the side shell work, April 1st. Well, we will at that point tender possession to tenants. They would have the ability at that point to go ahead and commence work if they have permits in hand, which that comes back to production and how quickly we can get through the value engineering and get it on budget.
And I think that's pretty much it. So the quicker we can get through this next phase of working through the pricing and get a good price and make those modifications and get the CDs done, the quicker we can get it done. So that's always been our goal, is to assume that we were going to have possession starting in April and be able to move from there. So I think we're still on target, as long as we can get these modifications done quickly.
So April 1st, correct me if I'm wrong, we can assume that it's already been sent out to be bidded, we have a contractor, and we're ready to start work on April 1st. Is that what you're saying?
In April. I don't know about April 1st,
okay.
but within April, we've been assuming that we would have access to the space in April.
That's right. And the board would have the option to write it as a change order to TU Parks, and I've already
include that into
with
the
Mr. Bennett.
right.
The board has that option.
Right.
If TU Parks continues to perform well and the board's satisfied there. Otherwise, you could go through the conventional bid process as well.
And one of the other components that I will say is that this will have to go to the fire marshal.
That's right.
And so that's going to be a time period also that could take. Now, in the past, we have put into the drawings and allowance, into the documents and allowance for fire marshal review, so that we can go ahead and get the bids and get all of that done while the fire marshal is reviewing it, and that helps expedite a little bit, so
That's
we
right.
can do that.
Okay.
It will also help that the fire marshals are already fully up to speed. Both the permitting and the field inspectors are fully up to speed and aware of what we're doing in the shell and what's coming. So it won't be a surprise.
Gotcha. Okay. Great. Any other questions? Thank you, Angie. First Case, do you have a question?
No, I'm just excited. Let's go. Let's move.
All right, next item, Mr. Corbett, Pie Center.
To that end, let's go. A couple of you have had the opportunity to come visit the site. I invite any of you that want to come tour, let me know, and Kyle and myself would be happy to show you around and give you the lay of the land. The complexion of it has changed quite a bit. Over the fall, it was hard to see a lot of progress because it was a lot of demolition. It was a lot of interior work. Now we've got subcontractors all over this building, roof, inside, downstairs, every building, inside, outside, everywhere. There's a lot of activity, and that means there's a lot of forward progress, and it feels good right now. Still on track, like I said, for an April 1st substantial completion. There's always uncertainties there, but we have all of our discretionary permits in hand. All of our major subs are rolling, and so far, no major hiccups. So, we are starting to work, as Angie mentioned, we're starting to work on budgets for interior build-outs for the different school components incorporated there, and we'll continue to vet those and try to get ahead of those. So that we can roll right into them. I don't know, Kyle, if you want to update on leasing.
So we have tenants have lease documents in hand, and reviewing those with attorneys, and I discussed with board members that came on the site today. The owners of those entities are reviewing with attorneys, and one of the major manufacturers specifically was hopeful to give me something back this week coming out of break, but I have not heard back from them yet. But everything is still moving there, and conversations are continuing on. And those entities are designing their space. So they have skin in the game in design and people on site looking at their spaces and how they plan to utilize those. So there is progress with those entities currently. So hopefully I will have lease documents in here. Our target has been February. I talked to Dr. Cash about that before Christmas to make sure everything's clean and before the board as we get ready to move
So you've heard us talking about the permitting process, all the permits that are in hand. You've heard us talking about the lease documents. We have leases out for execution at this point. You've heard us talk about coordination with off-site utilities. That work in Parker Street is underway at this point, so we're not talking about it anymore. It's happening, and things are coming together nicely. So pleased with it.
Anybody have a question on this? I have a couple.
Sure.
Now, we talk about our folks that are going to lease.
Yes, sir.
And you said build, they're going to have their build out. Now, who is going to be overseeing that to make sure that an architect firm is involved in that, to make sure we don't build something not safe or whatever? I mean, how's that going to work, play out?
So as the owner's rep, my contract with the Bradley County School Board includes tenant coordination. So the tenants will be submitting to me on behalf of the board, and it will come to the board for approval. You guys will have the ability to approve signage and a whole host of different components for the tenants. But the lease document itself requires licensed architect and engineer to sign off on a set of plans. They have to submit those. It requires their contractors and subcontractors are licensed, insured, and bonded. It requires all of those things. And we are named as additional insured. So all of those protections are written into the lease, and I'm under contract to administer those on behalf of the school board.
Great. Okay. All right. Anything else? Next item, and I think it's you, isn't it?
It is.
And you have a change order. Let me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's next, that's what's,
The one in the book is not correct.
right, it's the one you have.
It's the one you have that's loose, okay? That's what we're going to be talking about. It's the one that Patty came by and dropped off in front of us earlier. So that's the document we're looking at now, not the one that's in the book under that category. Go ahead.
To back up a little bit, recall when we had the original set of plans and we went out to bid, the original bid came in at $15.8 million. We identified a number of areas where we could cut and reduce expenses. $1.6 million of that was fireproofing. We were able to eliminate a lot of that and included that in the contract document as qualifications. We have since completed the design and incorporated all of those qualifications, all of those cost savings into the construction documents. So we have actually 2 new iterations of the construction documents since then. Everything is fully designed, everything is fully vetted by the state and local authorities and fully permitted at this point. Over the course of that project, over the course of that process rather, there are field changes, there are details that we didn't anticipate, and there are fire marshal comments and requirements that we did not anticipate, quite candidly. And so this is kind of a culmination of those. The majority of these items, and we'll go through line by line and give you the opportunity to ask questions. The majority of these relate to fire protection systems. The original fire protection number was like $1.6 million. And getting that in budget, there's $700,000 of fire protection in the existing budget, in the existing contract. And now we're adding about $240,000 of this back to that. So overall, we've still managed to save versus the original design, but there have been some new requirements, and we'll go through those. First item, we anticipated the incorporation and budgeted the construction of firewalls. These firewalls will split the structure into 3 buildings, which allows us to change the construction type, and then we don't have to fireproof everything. We only have to fireproof the educational occupancies. Saves a lot. But in constructing those firewalls, we had presumed that one of the exterior walls had enough footing underneath it that we could lay the block on there. When we excavated, it did not. And so we're having to saw cut and pour new footings. That's what this $30,000 is for, new footings for one of the firewalls that's required by these changes. Any questions? Just feel free to stop me. I'll just keep rolling. Similarly, the separation of structures is required to do that, which means the building on one side of a firewall and the building on the other side of the firewall have to be structurally independent of one another. That required expansion joints to the tune of $6,800. It included steel modifications, quite a few steel modifications. That line item's $104,000. There are changes to connections, changes to purlins, the addition of steel and stiffening, again, to just completely segregate the structures into two. Overall, we're still saving. This is the lesson, or the takeaway there. The original construction documents did not have any landmark entrance or any feature at the Goal Academy. It's kind of on the back side of the building. A lot of the other public entrances had the dry design metal canopies. This line item would contemplate the addition of that dry design canopy feature at the Goal Academy entrance, a scaled down version of it. But the benefit there is the same contractor who does all of the other signs. We get consistency in material, we get consistency in color and quality and all of that. This $20,000 would represent a not to exceed. We would certainly value engineer and try to come in less than that. Once we finalized the design and incorporated all of the value engineering changes into the design documents, those had to go back through the permitting process. We got final comments back from both the local and the state fire marshals. One of the comments was we had to add spray foam fireproofing to every column, not just the ceiling structure, but every column in the educational spaces. That netted an additional cost of $31,000. Additionally, the comments from the state fire marshal and the local fire marshal had us make changes to fire cabinets, wall types, risers, sprinklers, post indicator valves. We had to add 3 post indicator valves. Just a host of bits and pieces all over the job site, which cumulatively totaled $28,648. The next item is not firewall, but it's downstream because of the firewall. Because we added a firewall, we had to reposition and reconfigure some of the tenant spaces to make sure all of the lease negotiations that are ongoing end up with the same square footage. In doing that and make sure they all have the same egress opportunity out the back of their spaces. So we had to reconfigure not just the tenant spaces, but a common area space that provided rear egress for all of these tenants. And in doing that, we had to relocate and increase the number of fixtures in the toilets and the common area restrooms, add a janitor's closet, and the sum total of the trenching, excavation, plumbing, and additional fixtures and all of that is represented in this number, which is $21,755. The next line item, recall back in the November meeting, Ms. Lee asked me about price escalation due to COVID. One of the only subcontractors that has mentioned material price increases is the plumbing contractor. We've vetted that with some other local, national, and regional construction companies, and it's across the board, it's nationwide. The plant that makes the resins, that makes the PVC, has had some issues, and material prices for plumbing is going sky high. The material price escalation also happened between the time that they submitted their subcontractor bid and we awarded the contract to TU Parks, and before the subcontractor signed their subcontract, and so they were kind of exposed. So what we've done is we worked out a deal where we are going to share the cost, 1/3 to the owner, 1/3 to the subcontractor, and 1/3 to the general contractor. And our third of that would be $12,396. The next line item is a deduction. Again, the whole process, a lot of those qualifications were deductions to get the project in budget originally. We identified some more subsequent to that, and I'll add, we continue to look for cost reductions. The roof drains, we reconfigured the roof drains, and we're able to save $79,449 on that line item with that subcontractor. One of the big surprises after meeting with the state fire marshal was the requirement to add voice-activated or voice-enabled fire alarm speakers and strobes. So it's not just as simple as taking the strobe off and putting a speaker up. It requires a completely different alarm system type. And given the scale of what we're working on here, that change and the additional duct detectors that they required netted a change of $131,971. So pretty considerable line item there.
So that is pretty typical with any new structure or renovation or.
If there's an assembly use and an education use, I think that's what triggered it for them. And I think it is, I believe I talked to Dr.
It's one of the
Cash.
standards for us now, that
It's one of the what?
the standards for us for that type be in our buildings.
Okay.
The city, most all of our permits are through the county. Because we're tied to Cleveland Utilities, the city reviews our utilities, our site, and our stormwater, because those impact off-site. The city issued the land disturbance permit, and in the pre-construction meeting, they asked us to install 2 additional construction entrances. And that's not just for our convenience, that also includes silt fence and inlet protection to keep their roads clean as our traffic comes and goes. So it's going to benefit us in the long term. It'll save us some cleaning, and it'll save some wear and tear. But that line item is $8,200 and was requested or required by the land disturbance permit. A water quality unit is required for stormwater regulations. That was to reconfigure that where we needed it to be was a $4,500 add. To get it in the right place and have it function correctly to meet the regulations. The next line item is a deduction for clearing and stormwater infrastructure to be performed by Bradley County Road Department, and really want to celebrate the partnership there. They have stepped up to the plate, and we're proud to have them essentially step in as a subcontractor and deliver some of the infrastructure, stormwater infrastructure on our behalf. Another deduction, that deduction was about $35,000 worth of savings that is going to result from the partnership there and the cooperation. Next deduction is for paving adjustments. Again, we continue to look for ways to trim costs, and over the course of plan review, we've identified $18,866 worth of savings without de-scoping and without changing the nature or function of the circulation or parking. Smaller item, in separating the buildings, each building has to have its own riser room, so we had to add a new riser room. The equipment was included in budget, but framing out and reconfiguring the riser room requires about $2,100 worth of new framing, blocking, door, hardware, that kind of stuff. The next item is change condition. The firewall footing through the southern building, the firewall, as we were digging the footing downstairs, discovered, and there was no way to know it ahead of time, but there was an old 24-inch terracotta pipe underneath the slab, and so we can't very well put a footing on top of that, so we had to excavate that terracotta pipe, and because it had leached water and over time so long, we had to actually over-excavate another 6 feet down to get to good bearing material and then fill it back up to be able to set our footings. So that change in condition resulted in a $7,000 add, just because it's really difficult to get to. Next line item, tenant space M1, which is a 30,000 square foot manufacturer, which is a lease that's out for signature. It includes a truck dock that is dock high, so it's a recessed truck dock that's inside the building threshold. Roll door on the outside, and the tractor trailers would actually back into the building itself. That will become part of the tenant space, and for a host of reasons, it's safer, it's much lower risk for us to go ahead and demo the concrete, fill it with dirt, and put a topping course of aggregate on there so that it's slab ready for the tenant. It's going to be a whole lot cheaper for us to do it than for us to put that burden on the tenant, and it's going to be a lot safer if we just build the exterior walls and put the facade up, and we leave the tenant to do that on their own. The type of equipment they'd have to get in there, we run the risk of damaging our plumbing, our building, our facade. So it's as much of risk mitigation as it is an economic savings or benefit. The last item is a change condition on the southern wall. That's a subgrade wall that will serve the classroom portions of the medium-heavy truck technology program. We've had a lot of water intrusion through that wall and under that wall, filling some of the plumbing trenches that are open. We've been pumping it out as quickly as we can, but clearly we need to over-excavate that wall and put some waterproofing on the outside of it, not just to mitigate the current issues while these trenches are open, but to protect us from any future issues when the classrooms are there behind the building or behind that wall. That excavation, the waterproofing, everything associated with that is a not to exceed number of $20,808. That will be done on a time and materials basis, and they will bill only what they do. So hopefully we come in under that. And that's my last comment is we continue to track all of these. We're monitoring these things closely. And these items and beyond, we're always looking for savings. And that's wired into the mentality of the subcontractors. It's the culture of the job at this point. So with that, I'll open it up. The sum total of everything is $315,000, $315,193, which would be a net add to the contract. That's about 2.35% of the total original contract value. And with that, open it up to any questions, concerns.
On that south end where you were talking about the wall
Yes, ma'am.
and the classrooms, is there a dock on that south end?
There is.
Okay.
The medium heavy truck technology facility, that portion, that space will include a dock high door to allow tractors to come and go.
Okay.
Which is going to require excavation of part of that wall. We just need to excavate a little further back on that wall to make sure that the classroom portions that are below grade, that are not excavated in the final condition, that those portions are not leaching water into the classrooms.
Okay.
So there's already some excavation and some regrading that's going to happen there. We just need to take it a little bit further and do it a little bit sooner to protect the structure.
Okay.
Make sure the footings don't get undermined and make sure we don't get any water damage.
As we have found out, if we're going to have problems, we're going to have water problems. Doesn't matter what construction you do, so we appreciate you watching that. Any other questions? Okay, now, the increase in the budget, does that, where's
We're
that?
still under budget.
We're still under budget. We have the money in the budget,
Yes.
we have the funds to increase our budget
Yes.
without doing anything with our fund balance or anything.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Do I hear a motion to approve the increase to our construction budget of $315,193? I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a second. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it.
Thank you, and I hope to see you on site soon.
Would you, Mr. Chairman, may I speak to the board?
You certainly can.
Would you like for us to set up a day where can we get golf carts in and around there now, to get some golf carts and take you guys through so you can see that? Would that be, okay. Patty, we'll work on working that out and get back with you.
Is that possible that could be and again, I'm retired, so we're good on time.
We know you're retired.
I know,
yes.
but there's lots of there's still folks at work. We may want to look at maybe a Saturday. Would that work better?
We can.
And then you probably have less people there.
Yeah.
And,
What's
probably
it
safer.
really, Rodney, but you work all the time, so we don't know.
Would Saturday be easier for you?
And Amanda?
I actually went today, so,
Okay.
and I had them take me through there, and you should really go, because there's a ton
We'll
of work.
we'll kind of work with Rodney and see if we can work it out with Rodney. And then kind of.
I
fill
went
everybody-
today also.
And Teddy as well. We need to work at his schedule.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The next item is the Pie Center Architectural Service proposal.
Yes, sir.
Is that you, Dr. Cash?
It is.
Okay.
And in your package, you have the STEM School, the Conclave, and the office space. A recommendation for the architect, which is David Hudson, and Artech, which you approved them as the architect. This is their proposal, has been vetted by Scott Bennett, and I would like to make a recommendation for the board to approve this contract. And we would take, they had two different payment styles. We would like to recommend payment style 1 and approval of this contract to begin the drawings for those areas. And so he would do all 3 spaces, would be planning and drawing all 3 spaces at the same time, which is a savings to us if he does it all in one, rather than us piecing it apart and having him do one, and then we go back and we do another one. He would just have them simultaneously being designed so that they work together. They're all in there together.
And we're talking about the spaces that we're required to
Yes, they're
to
our
build out.
spaces.
They're our spaces,
yes.
educational spaces.
They're educational
not
spaces, yes.
anything else.
Yes.
Dr. Cash, what did you say about the fees?
Okay, so we had 2 choices. We could have them begin designing all of the spaces at once, so we're working on the same plans.
And that's what you're recommending?
And that's what we're recommending, because it is a cost savings to us.
Okay.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the contract with the architect?
I make a motion to approve the contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Is there any questions? If no questions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Thank you, Dr. Cash.
Thank you.
All right. Announcements. We've already done number 14. The announcements, the next meeting of the school board will be on February the 11th. Also, I would like to recognize Nancy Kaysen. Nancy,
I'm sorry.
you'd asked me to recognize you at the end of the meeting for 30 seconds.
I want to personally talk to you for 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to talk to all of us. I apologize.
All accepted.
Hey, at least I didn't forget you.
That is true, but you sure did
All right.
scare me.
The only thing I would like to address the board is that Ms. Phillips will be reaching out to see if we can get a date for our retreat. We'll get a date in January and a date in February so that we can get that on the agenda for everybody.
Sounds good.
Okay.
January 23rd.
They're looking into right now, if everybody would be available.
Is there an alternate date in February that you guys?
And that would be a day, right?
Yes,
One day, yes.
I want to have a confession. The 23rd is pretty fast for me to try to get organized and.
It's pretty fast, yes.
Well, I'm semi-retired now, so whatever y'all want to do is fine with me.
Can we try to find a February date?
Well, I'm retired, but I don't have any time, so.
Well, I'm finding that out, Ms. Beatty.
And 27th. We think we want to do bid, the 20th maybe?
Would that?
February the 20th?
Okay, would that tentatively work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked for me. What about you, Mr. Russell? February the 20th?
As long as it's on the weekend.
It is. It's on Saturday.
He travels, that's why he's not right now. Because they can't travel. He usually goes somewhere, but that's okay.
Are you on vacation that weekend?
No,
No? Okay. That's good.
not that.
So is that what we're looking at, February the 20th? Can everybody tentatively look okay?
Yeah. Do we know where it's here?
It'll be here in Cleveland, yes.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. So let's tentatively, Patty, schedule for February the 20th. You can make all that happen. Okay. Okay. Nothing else come before the board?
No.
Yes, sir.
Agenda next time.
Do it now. Oh, that's for, yeah. Any agenda items for next board meeting? Yes, sir.
I don't want to misstate it, but I don't want nobody, like, the reason why I'm saying now is so nobody's surprised later.
Gotcha.
Or ambush or
Okay.
whatever, but I'm not gonna go into detail. But there are some other things that maybe need to be involved. I've got an issue that I want on it, but the city have been working. about, the track at Red High School.
Okay.
I'll be more specific if you want to.
That's
I'm
fine.
not asking for money.
Yeah.
My thing, well,
The topic of the, for the track.
Just the topic for the track, right. You wanna wait till after we do our retreat? Because we're gonna talk about that during the retreat, you know. so-
yeah, but I don't want the board, you know, but I want everybody to be thinking about it.
Yeah.
But mine does not incur any expense to the taxpayer, what I'm asking,
Okay.
that I know of.
So you'd like that on the agenda just so you can say
Yeah,
something about
so-
it in the next
yeah,
meeting?
yeah.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
we'll talk about it,
Okay.
but yes, I,
You have that, Patty? Okay. Anything else? If nothing else, meeting adjourned.